So I came across this article the other day, and I smiled because I recognize myself in here. I have a very bad. I'm told my wife will tell me that, and to be fair, I'm not. But I let her say this because it makes her feel better. She tells me that I can't get rid of stuff. Right? What do we call people like that? Hoarders. But hoarders are different. I've seen hoarders, and it's you walk into a place and it's top to bottom. There's like stuff everywhere. I'm not like that. But in the wake of stuff that you do have, that you've had for a while, I think my motto has always been, if it's not broke, why should I get rid of it? Thinking that one day when I have breaks, I have a backup in sight. I do that with all kinds of stuff. I've talked about the fact that I have probably 7 keyboards because if one breaks, I don't want to be without another. That's not a reason to have 7. It's a reason to maybe have 2. But this story suggests the way to do this, to start decluttering, whether it's things or clothes or whatever, is to simply, and I love the way this is broken down, right? It's referred to as basically no contact decluttering. I love the premise, and then I started reading more on this, and I wanted to have the author come on. Katrina Teeple is an organizational expert, speaker, and owner of Operation Organization, who's coining this term, and she is on the line. Thanks so much for being here.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah, let's get into it. So when you say no contact decluttering, that method is what makes it easier to get rid of stuff. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's kind of coming from, I guess, relationships. Have you ever heard somebody say, like, you got to have the no contact with an ex for 30 to 90 days, because if you keep in contact with them, it's going to be easy to get back into that relationship with that person.
Right.
So it's kind of the same thing with your clutter. So many times it's hard for people to get started on decluttering their homes because they just feel emotionally attached to things, even if they're not using them. So the idea and the premise behind this no contact method of decluttering is to take a space in your house, let's call it maybe your office, and you start to put things without too much emotional pull on it into boxes and label it. And then with the intention that later, in about 60 to 90 days, you're going to go back through that stuff. But first you need to get the feeling of living with less, living without this clutter. And then when you come back to it later, it's going to be so much easier to let go of it because you're going to see how your space looks and feels without the clutter. So it takes the pressure off.
So I'm not going to say, so you're talking about putting it all in a box and leaving it there for a while. So it's not an immediate get rid of it. And at that point, when you look around you go, wow, this place looks good. And you then realize, I guess, hey, I don't miss any of that stuff that I put in the box. I guess it is okay to give it away.
That's right. And then sometimes there will be a few things that you want to pull back and say, hey, I do really want this stuff in my space, but I'm going to be more intentional about why I'm keeping it and what I'm going to do with it. And what I like to do is take the boxes with my clients out of the space completely, maybe put it in a closet, in a garage, but you have to be firm with the rule that you need to set an appointment with yourself on the calendar, even hire a professional organizer to go back through that stuff later, because if it just sits, then it's just going to be sitting clutter someplace else. But it really is great for people that have just never gotten started with the idea of decluttering because it feels so emotionally overwhelming.
I love it. That's the kind of out of sight, out of mind approach. But then, as you just said, I laughed because when you said you have to schedule an appointment later on, because if you just put it in a box and put it somewhere else, you've now just, cluttered someplace else instead of where it was originally, which is so true.
Right.
Because once you take that box and move it somewhere else and you don't deal with it, you're like, well, I guess I must have taken care of it because I don't see it anymore.
Yeah, but I think naturally sometimes when people move, they, pack up all their stuff and then they throw some stuff in a garage, and then 6 months later they haven't unpacked it all, and then they go back through the stuff later and
Sure.
They go, hey, I didn't really need this stuff. It's a lot easier to get rid of it when you see your life without it. And also, I think spaces in people's homes, when they're more beautiful and less cluttered, are so much more inspirational and energizing for you to want to live without it. So it's motivation to not keep the stuff that's been bogging you down and keeping the space stagnant.
Okay, I'm not asking for a personal session here, but yes, people are listening to this, and I said I have a very bad habit. I've been accused by this of my wife. Why is it that I have trouble getting rid of clothes? Now, I have clothes that I've had, and I'm not a word of a lie, 15, maybe 20 years. And I'm thinking, okay, outside of the style not being the same, and for shirts and stuff, that's not really a big issue. What's this attachment to clothes, and how do you break it?
I think we remember a time in our life as associated with something. And so when you're looking through your closet, I'm guessing that you might go, oh, I remember when, or this made me feel good then, or I had this job then, or, and so we remember it almost like when we smell something like sunscreen, we think of a beach. A lot of times this happens with clothes with my clients. And so the way that you want to break that too is just remember that, one, you kind of nailed it on the head. It's probably out of style. And we want to just keep the best of the best and donate the rest. That's what I tell my clients, because the more you have to manage. So you'll have more laundry. It's just sitting around, getting dust. We want to energize the space, breathe new life into it. And so that's a great time to maybe you could do this, is declutter some of your clothes, see how it feels to just have them away out of your stuff. And you'll probably be making some new outfits with some new classic pieces.
I don't know what an outfit is, but if that was the case, I'm sure I would buy in. I will tell you, though, I have done a thing where, you have a garbage bag, right? And you put stuff in and it sits on the floor for a while, and then you put something else in. By the time I get to it and I'm like, you know what? It's time to donate this. I will empty that bag out, look at it, and invariably I will pull out a shirt or two saying, why am I giving this away? There's nothing wrong with this shirt. I'm still doing that. Do I need help?
Maybe a little bit. And so here's what I'm going to say. My coaching for you is, you need to get it to the donation center the same week that you bag it up. So actually don't put it by the door. Don't put it inside. If you've really thoroughly gone through, we're talking about kind of two things here. Like, one, the decluttering method is the no contact decluttering is, don't spend a whole bunch of time going through each and every piece that you're going to put in a box to go through later. But when it comes time to go through it, then once you decide, hey, I've processed this is donation, there's no take backs, no dumpster diving. You need to get that in your car, get it on the way to the donation location, and don't look back. And you know what? You might have a tiny little piece of regret, maybe like out of 1% of 99 things that you get rid of. But I would say it's worth it living with less rather than having that tiny little piece of regret.
Okay. How much do I owe you for the session? No, I'm kidding.
I'll give you a really great deal.
Okay, that's nice. Listen, with respect to something else, and I think this is in the article as well, you're saying stick to one room at a time, right? It can be overwhelming if you try to do too much of this at the same time.
That's right. You want to stick to one room and do it to completion, because if you dilly-dally a little here, you dabble over there, then you're going to have like little kind of incomplete areas all over your house, and it's not going to look any different. So if you want to try this method, you want to start it in one spot. Like, let's say, for instance, your kitchen, right? You want to kind of get rid of the appliances you're not using very often. Like, box these things up if you are not ready to get rid of them right away. And don't do another room until that room's complete and boxed up, and then you made that appointment to go back and do it. If you want to do more than one room and then have those boxes all sitting someplace, that's okay. It's just about how much space and boundaries do you have in your house to allot for these things, sitting there. And then also, make an accountability partner. Tell one of your friends that you're doing this so that, you don't let yourself off the hook, right? You don't dumpster dive back into your boxes. Like, let a friend know, like, hey, I'm going to be doing this decluttering method. It's called no contact decluttering. I heard about it on the radio from Katrina Teeple. And then you want to just tell a friend and text them, show them the before and after picture. Make it a fun game with yourself, and then you guys can hold each other accountable for doing that later.
So they can go, you're giving away that shirt, finally? Okay, look, if people want to get a hold of you online, how do they do it?
Yes, I'd love to chat with them over Instagram. You can follow me on Instagram at Operation Organization. I'm there almost every single day. I also have a podcast on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It's called Living Organized. And I also do virtual sessions. So operationorganization.com. And that's me, Katrina Teeple.
Holy cow. You're a social media wizard. Okay. Katrina Teeple. It's spelled Teeple. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. Pleasure.
Take care. All right, there you go. Look, if you're like me and you have trouble decluttering, this no contact method, I think, is the way to go. I love that last thing she said at the end, which was, you know what? When you're doing that stuff with putting it in a bag eventually to donate, it's got to happen within a week. Because the longer it sits there, you start to forget about it, then you're going to pull stuff out of it, and there's no give backs. It's in that bag. Originally, you put it in there for a reason. It stays there, and get rid of it inside of a week and make life easier. So there you go. Hope that helps. Therapy on the radio.